After signing into your account, this will be what you will see. So we have above the setting page, the request page, list view and JV page, where, who is in, message, shift and job schedule page, approve, reports page, my hours, and then exit. Let's tackle first the first page that we can see, which is the setting page. So in this page, this is where you edit out all the information regarding your employees, your company, or each departments or whatever rules that you wish to apply. Let's first move on to the user's setting. So in the user setting, this is where you add a new employee or edit an employee profile. So how to add a new user? As you can see, there's a green button here that says add user. Just click on that one and then you will be redirected to this page. Once you're here, you just fill up the necessary information such as full name and username. So as you can see, the password, digit ID, employee number, email are just optional. So the email could only be applied if you're um, an admin. It is only required if you're an admin, but if you're a manager or an employee, then you can just leave it blank. For the digit ID, you may leave it blank. However, if you're going to use the PIN code, QR code, or barcode number, or as well as RFID, card number, and NFC tag number, you need to input digit ID. So it's up to you how many digits you add. Let's say, for example, then you can be as good to go. So for the overtime rule, if you have overtime rules specifically set up for some employees, well, we'll tackle that later on. You can set this one or assign this one directly from here. So there's also a page later where we will discuss about the overtime rule, which you can also assign it to the employees using that page, or you can also assign it directly when you're signing up your employees. For the hire date, it's up to you if you're going to fill that up correctly. You can select whether an employee is a full-time or a part-time employee. You can select whether the employee is paid hourly or salary, and you can input the pay rate. So you can just leave this blank if you don't want it calculator for you, and you can also fill up this information if you want it to be calculated automatically for you. For the time zone, if you use company setting, then it will use the company's default time zone setting. Let's say, for example, your company resides in New York and your employee resides in the Philippines, then if you don't want the time to be a mess, then you can just set this up as a company setting. But if you want to see what time your employee goes to work on his local hometown, then you can just select use other time zone, then select the city that your employee resides. The department, if you have set up departments for your employees already, then you can just assign this one directly while filling up their information. So the same thing as overtime rule. For the role of the employee, there are four types. Admin, which has the overall access for the account. Inactive or archive, which means you want this employee's information hidden as well as their records. Manager and employee. So if I select a different role, as you can see, there are more boxes to select or uncheck now. So these are permissions on what pages or what commands you wish those employees to see. If you want the manager to edit the time for their employees, then you can check that. If you don't want to, uncheck it. If you don't want them to see the setting page, the ones we're accessing right now, then you could just check it. If you don't want to, uncheck it. So the same thing goes for the others. For allow who is in, you can allow them, your managers, to see who is currently working at the moment. And you can select whether they will only see the managed departments or the departments that they're assigned to or all the departments. For the clock time limit, so this only works if you don't have multiple shifts to assign for your employees. If you select this feature on, you will see boxes here. If you click on that, you will see these are restrictions for your employees when they clock in and clock out. So it says here if earlier than 9 a.m., then the set clock time will be 9 a.m. So it doesn't matter if you arrive at 8:30 a.m. When you clocked in, our system will detect it as 9 a.m. So the same thing for the late time clock limit. If you clock in later than 6 p.m., which is supposedly your uh, clock out time, then it will still be recorded at 6 p.m. So it doesn't matter if you went overtime for 2 hours, 3 hours later than your clock out time. It will still be 6 p.m. So this only works if you don't have multiple shifts on your company. For a GPS here, you will see allow employee to clock in when GPS is off. So if you want to see the location where they clock in or clock out, then you can just select the option not allow the employee to clock in when GPS is off. So as the name or the option suggests, when the GPS feature of their device is not switched on or switched off, then they won't be able to clock in. For the base photo, so this will only be used for facial recognition. So if you don't have any intention on using the facial recognition for clock in or clock out, then you can just leave it be. For point of contact, date of birth, and memo, these are just optional fields. You can leave it blank, you can either fill it up as well. And once you're done, you just click on add, a big check will appear, and that means that employee has been added to your system. Now, if you have multiple employees you want to import, we do have an Excel file or template which you can use. So you just click on import Excel, download the Excel file. You'll see a downloaded file here. When you open that one, you will see here, this is the format that you need to follow. So the department name, employee number, username, password, email, and then the digit ID. So once you're done editing that out, just choose file, select the file, then start import. You will see it's automatically detected to employees and you will see it here. So make Lee and Mary Cheng. So for the barcodes, as I mentioned earlier, you will only be able to print barcodes, QR codes, or such if you have encoded digit ID. So as you can see, only one has digit ID. So when we go and print barcode, just select whether you want a QR code or a barcode. So the 1D is the barcode. Then 0D is just a plain text with the name. So let's go with the QR code. Click OK, and you'll be redirected to the print preview page of the employee who only has a digit ID. So once you're done, you can just print it out and you'll be able to clock in and out using that QR code you have printed. Now let's say you have archive an employee. Let's archive Mary Chang. But I want to see the records. All you have to do is click on Show Archive Users at the bottom. As you can see, here is her user information. Click on Check and then on Archive. Then it shall go up and as well as the records, it will be shown in your system. If you want to delete an employee profile, you have to archive it first. Click Show Archive Users, then click on Delete. Now what to do if you accidentally deleted an employee user profile that is still within the company. All you have to do is contact us with our support email, support@opentimeclock.com, or dial us at our toll-free number. Let's move on to the company setting. So the company setting is the default setting for your whole company. It gives you the company ID here, which is automatically generated. You can change that. Company short name, which is changeable. Of course, if you don't want a really long company name to type in when you're signing in your company, then you can just shorten it out. The company URL. So when you use this link and send this to your employee when they open it, it will automatically sign in your company. So they only just have to scan their QR codes, type in their PIN codes, or just clock in and out. Account owner email. So this is for the admin account holder. So if this is not the correct email that you should be using to receive notifications or to register your company account, then you can just change it here. For the camera, so we have the webcam feature, right? For the camera, if you select allow all required, then when your employees clock in or out, or as well as you as the admin clock in or out, the webcam will snap a picture and you will be able to see who clocked in or out for that employee's account. If you want define per user, if you only want to check specific employees, want to make sure that they're the ones to clock in or out for their account, then you can just select define per user, then you go to the user settings, click on edit for the employee profile, and then you will see it at the bottom, the camera option. For the week start day, so not all companies start their days with Monday or Sunday, right? So you just select which ones you're most comfortable of seeing under the reports or the time cards, and that should be good to go. For the nearest, for the round time, so this is just to round up or down the time your employees has clocked in or clock out. So let's say, for example, you want to round up at clock in, then round down at clock out to 5 minutes. So when your employee clock in at 8:31, then your employee's clocking time will be 8:30 because the nearest 5 minutes is 30, right? Not 35. So the same thing applies for the clock out. So if your employee is clocked out for 8:33, the nearest or the round down will be 8:30 because you rounded it down to 5 minutes. For the auto lunch deduction, so if you don't pay the lunch for the employees, you can just click on yes here, then input how many minutes you want to deduct for that employee hours. Let's say, for example, your employee works for 8 hours and you want to deduct 1 hour of work after 3 hours of working time. Then this should be how you input it. So if you only want this one to be applied to specific employees again, just click define per user, the same thing as camera option, go to the user setting page, click on edit on the user you wish to apply this auto launch deduction, scroll down at the bottom, you should be able to see this option. For the employee edit note, so when your employee clocks in or clocks out, you have the option to allow them to enter notes when they clock in or clock out. So they only have 45 days to edit out their notes. So if you don't think you have clocked in or out at the correct time, so you can leave a note on your time card as well to remind your managers or your admins to correct your time. Then after 45 days, that comment or that note won't be changeable anymore. So for the date, time totals format, so you just select whichever it is that's most comfortable you are seeing. So if you want to see months first, then days, then years, then go with it. You can also see it by years, months, and days first, then days, months, and years first. can also see the time as 12-hour clock or 24 hours clock. The time totals, if you want to see on the reports hours and minutes with a letter, then this is fine. You can see 2 hours, 30 minutes, or you want to see a time like time totals format. So there's no letters, just numbers. So you just select whichever it is that you're most comfortable with. For the default time zone, so you just select the city of your origin so that you will be detected or your time, local time, will be detected by our system. So if you're from New York, just select New York. If you're from Montreal, just click Montreal. So allow PDO requests when in all conditions. That means it doesn't matter if the employee has PDO accruals, they can request for PDOs. So if you select before exceeding PDO accruals, then when that employee has no accruals left, then they won't be able to file a request. Enter note when clocked in. So if you have already a job or a shift or a photo, you select as options as um, applicable for all users. Then when you clock in or clock out, there should be a pop-up that would appear, and you can select the job, the shift you're attending, as well as you can enter a note whether you're late. You can write down the reason there, and you can clock in or clock out. Then once you're done, or your timestamp has been recorded, then it will reflect on your time card. So clock UI. So I saw you earlier the blue UI button. So if you click on that, you will see particular options or specific options on how to clock in. So you have the user clock where you use the username and password, pin clock where you use the digit ID, face clock where you use facial recognition, name clock where you just select your name, enter your password, QR code if you have generated a digit ID, you have printed out your QR code, then you can just clock in or clock out using your QR code scanner. Group clock, this is for admins and managers, and offline clock, which is only applicable for the mobile app. So if you don't want your employees to be able to see other clocking options, just uncheck the box. And it should reflect when they come back to the user login page. Daily overtime auto clock out and weekly overtime auto clock out. So this is just restrictions to prevent overtime. So if you select the feature on, then when work over 8 hours or 9 hours in a single day, then your employee's account will be automatically logged out. So the same thing for this one. For weekly overtime auto clock out, when they have worked over 40 hours for the week, then their account will automatically clock out. So for the login button, if you don't want your employees or managers to check anything else, you don't only want to be the only one to log in and see all these pages here, then you can just click it and select allow only admins to log in, or allow only admins and managers to log in, and allow all users to log in if you want your employees to request a PDO or check their time cards. So for the rest of the option here, if I click the feature off here and save changes, you will see that when I go up, there's only a few pages here, as well as the options here, they have decreased. So the other features here is just to limit on how many pages you want to see when you clock in or clock out. So if you don't want too many options to see, let's say for example, you don't need the option to see the clock points, to see the messages from your employees, notification, then you can just switch the feature off and it will be removed from here on the left side as well as here on the top side. So that's it for the company setting. Now let's move on to the departments. department managers and department users. So how to add department? As simple as adding users, click on the add department button, select a department name. The department code is just optional, so you can just leave that blank, then click add. Then you should be good to go. Then in here, you can assign managers. So you click assign more, click on employee who is a manager, then click assign. If you want to remove that employee to be the manager of that department, just click on the X button and confirm. If you want to edit the name for that department, just click edit and then edit out. If you want to delete that department, just click on delete, then confirm. That's it for the departments. For the department users, let's say you have set up departments already. Okay, so this is the manager, test the manager. So let's say you have set up departments already. You just click on assign more and then select whichever department you wish to be handled by this manager. So let's go ahead and create multiple departments. Okay, and once it's done, we assign it through the department manager. So there's two options to assign a manager to a department. So it's either through the departments option or departments manager. So you click on assign more, select the name of the department you wish to be handled by this manager. So you can select multiple departments. Okay. Then if you want to remove that department under that manager's restriction, just click on X to delete that from that manager's accountability. Click on yes, and it will be removed. So for the department users, so the same thing when adding departments to managers. So you just click on the department, click assign user, select the name of the employees you want to add, click assign. Click on the different department, assign user, click the name of the employee, assign. Click the other department, assign user, then assign. So as you can see, I didn't assign user for multiple users here. Because when I do that and click assign, you will see here that that employee that I just added has been removed to the previous department that he or she belongs to. So you can only assign one department per user. For over Now let's move on to the overtime rules. So if you have particular rules that you follow on your state, so you can use this option. Just click on add rule, select the overtime rule name, select whether it's a weekly overtime or bi-weekly overtime. So let's go with weekly overtime. So after 40 hours, the weekly overtime rate will apply. So you can also select whether you will have a daily overtime or daily double time. So you just input how many hours the rates will apply. You just select how much it will be multiplied by the rate of the overtime or the double time. For the 7th day California rule, so you can just ignore this one if you're not from California. For the other options, special weekdays, special calendar days. So if you do have some special weekdays or calendar days on your company, you just click what rate should apply, then select the date. For the calendar days, the same thing, you just select which overtime rule would apply, and then click on the calendar here, just select the date, and it will apply here. So when you click on add, then it will automatically be calculated once you run reports. So for the overtime rule users, so as you saw earlier in the user setting page, you can add the overtime rules to their account while creating or editing them. So in here is the other option where you can do that. Just click on assign more. So the same thing when adding department for particular department managers, you just assign it. So the same thing, you can only assign one overtime rule per user. So if you want to remove those employees under this overtime rule, just click on assign, or there should be an X button here. Click on X, confirm.